Welcome to Rejection Samstha's e-learning platform. Lesson number 4.2 Unke Munke Timpetoo. It will be a fantastic birthday this year, I said in a mocking tone. All I will get is a pair of shoes and a hand knitted pull cover over pull over. I had asked her for a table tennis set, but my mother said it is totally out of the question this year. My friend Mook looked at me thoughtfully. He drew a bit closer and said, "Well, Rohan, I don't say I believe in it, but my cousin said it works." He drew a bit closer and said, "Well, Rohan, I don't say believe it in it, but my cousin said it works. And there is no harm trying, don't you think?" "Trying what?" I asked. "Well," my cousin said, "if you really want something badly, all you have to do is to run around a banyan tree at midnight and chant 7 times, Unke Munke Timpetoo." I desperately wanted my wish to come true. Still, I asked why 17 times and why at midnight. "Don't ask me," replied Mook, who was my best friend. "That is how it is done. I suppose why not try it? It would not do any harm." I thought it was all nonsense. Besides, I couldn't think of any banyan tree in our neighborhood. There was one in old Mrs. Grover's garden, but who dared to enter her garden? Not me, and not at midnight. There was one in old Mrs. Grover's garden, but who dared to enter her garden? Not me, and not at midnight. Mrs. Grover had been the principal of our school till last year. One look from her piercing pale green eyes was enough to silence bullies like a Rinku Lal of class 10. I had seen it happen with my own eyes. "Forget it," I said. However, the thought kept haunting me till the day before my birthday, and I just could not think of anything else. "Okay," I said to Mook, "if you come along with me, I will go to Mrs. Grover's garden tonight and do it." "Why should I come along?" asked Mook. "I have no secret wish." "Come on, let us go and wish for my table tennis set." So at 10 minutes to 12, Mook and I met at the back of old Mrs. Grover's garden. At 10 minutes to 12, Mook and I met at the back of old Mrs. Grover's garden. We looked down into the garden, which lay dark and silent in the dim light of the moon. And there was a banyan tree, its aerial roots swaying in the gentle breeze of the night. We jumped down, reached the tree, and looked around carefully. We jumped down, reached the tree, and looked carefully. "Imagine if she is awake," I whispered and pointed at Mrs. Grover's house. "Nobody is awake at this ghostly hour of the night," hissed Mook. "Now get going, run." I ran as fast as I could, chanting Unke Munke Timpetoo. "I wish my wish is coming true," over and over again. I felt a bit scared. That's why I tried to get it over quickly and increased my speed. I increased the chanting too, and all the while I went on listening to the sounds of the night. A crackle here, a swish there. Suddenly, a ferocious bark tore the stillness of the night. I froze. Inside Mrs. Grover's house, lights flashed on the blackboard was pushed open. Inside Mrs. Grover's house, lights flashed on and the black door was pushed open. "Who's there?" called Mrs. Grover. "Mook, Mook," I mumbled, saying something. But Mook was climbing up the tree. When I saw Mrs. Grover's bent down to unleash the dog, I pleaded, "Please don't send the dog at us. I will explain everything if you let me." "Speak out soon," Mrs. Grover shouted. I told her everything. I feared she might not believe, but she listened to me without interruption. She just looked at me with the hard, light green eyes of hers as if she was trying to see right into my heart. "So," she asked finally, "and you believe in Unke Munke Timpetoo? Do you think it will help?" I dropped my head and said softly, "I hope it will." "Well," she returned, "if you believe so, go and finish your rounds." She turned, saying, "And while leaving, would you mind using the front gate?" I did finish the remaining 6 rounds and left her garden using the front gate. I swore that I would never return. And then the great moment came. I opened my gifts, rejoiced over my new pair of shoes and the hand knitted pullover, and then my eyes fell on a parcel, a big parcel. And then the great moment came. I opened my gifts, rejoiced over my new pair of shoes and hand knitted pullover, and then my eyes fell on a parcel, a big parcel. I had never received such a big parcel earlier. To Rohan Khanna, I read from Unke Munke Timpetoo. I started at Mook, and he looked as surprised as I was. My mother asked, "Who is Unke Munke Timpetoo? Isn't that an unusual name?" "Yes," I said, "very unusual indeed." I bent over the parcel and began to unpack it. I removed the strings and the paper impatiently. Finally, I removed the colorful gift wrapping and found a table tennis set. It was not a brand new table tennis set, but it was a fabulous one. "Wow," I whispered, "just wow." Till today, Mook swears he has nothing to do with it, and so do my parents. I wondered if old Mrs. Grovers was responsible for the surprise. I wondered for a very long time. One day I gathered up all the courage I possessed and went to meet Mrs. Grover. I used the front gate and rang the bell. I had gone over my lines 100 times, but when the she looked down on me with her pale green eyes, I felt my heart sink, and my courage vanish, and all I could do was stutter like an idiot. "Good afternoon, madam. Did you, have you, sorry, but do you believe in Unke Munke Timpetoo?" Mrs. Grover continued to look at me with a strange look in her eyes. She replied softly but seriously, "Yes, I do believe in Unke Munke Timpetoo. I had wished to have somebody over for a tea today, and here you are. Now, isn't it a perfect example of Unke Munke Timpetoo?" She smiled and she looked so different, almost human. From that onwards, Mook and I went to see old Mrs. Grover's quite often. Not only because she made the best tea and had the best cookies. No, we went because we liked her, and then we had one thing in common. We all believed in Unke Munke Timpetoo. Thank you very much.